Chapter 29 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex will be released earlier than usual, but as always, for the next 8 minutes, there are several exciting things we can try to predict. And of course, to make these predictions sound reasonable and coherent, how about we start from the cover? First and foremost, if we look every crucial panel in Chapter 29, at least in my opinion, there are 4 characters with the highest potential to appear on the cover. First is Borushiki, second is Shikamaru, third is Mamushi, and fourth, once again, is Code. Yup, it is what it is. So yeah, starting with Borushiki, I think this will be the first debut in the time skip if Borushiki becomes the cover. Because the last time we saw Borushiki on a cover was, of course, before the time skip. More precisely in chapters 44 and 54 of Boruto Next Generation. And the reason why Borushiki is the character most suitable to represent chapter 29 is all because of the final panels. Boruto, who for some reason has no other choice, more specifically because Mamushi's attack could cause a building fire in Konoha, ends up activating his karma for the very first time. However, at this point, chapter 29 should be the real proof, resolving everything that's been left hanging between Momoshiki and Boruto in the previous chapters, because we know the deal between Momoshiki and Boruto hasn't been fully revealed. Agree or not, but at least the majority of fans already suspect that Momoshiki and Boruto have become one. But since I like to look from multiple perspectives, I'm not fully convinced yet. Moreover, the majority of fans also believe that Momoshiki has already accepted the compensation Boruto offered, proven by several of Boruto's poses and behavior in the recent chapters. But once again, this isn't the issue. However, if Borushiki resurfaces in chapter 29, this should reveal everything. If Momoshiki takes over Boruto and he loses consciousness, then it's confirmed that Momoshiki hasn't fully made the deal. I mean, in the context of chapter 25, the dialogue only focused on Boruto wanting Momoshiki to at least consider lending him a hand. And as compensation, he would give his body if he managed to take down Jura. Meaning, regardless of what kind of hand Momoshiki provides, it's almost certain that it would be a form of power, or more precisely, Boruto is asking Momoshiki to lend him his power. So Boruto's consciousness shouldn't be completely asleep. Or in other words, Boruto still has control over his body and Momoshiki's power. Yeah, you know what I mean, right? Because, once again, Borushiki is a mode with Momoshiki's full control. If Momoshiki's ambition remains the same as it was from the beginning, and in chapter 25 he is only pretending to be resigned or desperate, perhaps if he has a golden opportunity, he will take it as revenge against Konoha. Because one thing we need to remember is that Momoshiki is a very cunning entity. There is no guarantee that Momoshiki will not act outside of the agreement if Boruto loses control of his consciousness. Therefore, with Boruto only wanting to borrow Momoshiki's power, it means that Boruto wants to still have complete control over his body to avoid the worst possible scenarios. But what do you think? Is Borushiki as a cover something possible? So yeah. The second is Shikamaru, and the reason I chose Shikamaru is of course for a reason. In this operation, Shikamaru's role as Hokage will determine the final outcome of the operation's success. Even though we know that Ikamoto will always prepare some plot twists that we never thought of before, one thing is certain in chapter 29, Shikamaru's role is key. In the midst of a complicated situation, with several shinobi being interrogated, and at the same time Mamushi has already made his move and is even fighting Boruto, how can the Konoha elders, who are currently in the village, see the situation from a different perspective? What I mean is, in this operation, several selected shinobi will move according to Shikamaru's orders to support Boruto while staying alert for enemy attacks. And we know that if there is any identification made of the shinobi supporting Boruto in the midst of this situation, it will raise great suspicion towards the Konoha elders. Because after the results of Konohamaru's interrogation of the Konoha elders and Lord Kobu, believe it or not, it is enough to prove that they are foolish and unable to see another perspective. This means that no matter what Boruto has done for Konoha and even what he has saved, the Konoha elders will consider it intolerable if some of the shinobi saved by Boruto defend him. Yeah, you know what I mean, right? In short, even though Konohamaru openly said that he survived thanks to Boruto, the Konoha elders instead suspect that he's on Boruto's side. With the fact that the Konoha elders are in denial, stubborn, and unable to properly consider things, Shikamaru in this operation will basically determine everything. Or more precisely, he will be the one fully responsible. Because any decision, big or small, that involves several shinobi working with Boruto is already enough to put Shikamaru in trouble. Yeah, you know what I mean, right? So I think since Shikamaru is the brain behind this whole operation, if he becomes the cover, it would actually make sense. But what do you guys think? The third is Mamushi. So far, given the fact that Mamushi is one of the divine tree humans who has never been a cover, I think it's time for him too. Especially since this will reveal some plot twists regarding his power and abilities, I think he will be quite relevant. But what do you guys think? Last is Code. Yep, I know I've probably mentioned Code many times before, but for some reason, I have high hopes to see what his plan is after he was completely humiliated by his own creation. So is now the right time for Code? And yeah, that's probably all for the cover prediction for chapter 29, but if you have any other ideas about the 4 characters, let me know in the comments. And next, this might not be too much to predict. One thing is certain, the prediction starts with the continuation of the battle between Boruto and Mamushi. In other words, there are 2 options Boruto must choose from. First, if he activates karma based on his own will, then he shouldn't run away while waiting for his karma to become inactive, like in the previous chapter when Boruto and Kawaki's karma resonated. But again, since these are 2 different cases, it may not be relevant enough. I mean, Boruto deliberately distanced himself due to the resonance of Momoshiki's karma in the middle of the battle in the Land of Wind, which happened before Boruto made a deal with Momoshiki. That means Boruto's case is different now. Boruto activated his karma after the agreement between Momoshiki and Boruto was revealed. So in conclusion, I think it doesn't make sense for him to have to distance himself to neutralize his karma, right? But what do you guys think? Second, continuing Mitsuki's interrogation in the middle of the operation. In this case, Mitsuki is part of the operation, but the problem is he is being interrogated. Even though Mitsuki plans to act unexpectedly, such as causing chaos or something so he can get out of the interrogation room, Shikamaru rejects the plan. In other words, Shikamaru wants Mitsuki to stay there for a while he thinks about what to do, so that Lord Kobu doesn't suspicious. So in conclusion, perhaps several panels in chapter 29 will continue Lord Kobu's questioning of Mitsuki. However, because Mitsuki's nature and attitude are different from Konohamaru's innocent impression, it is certain that the results of this interrogation will be different. Moreover, Lord Kobu thinks that Mitsuki's parents are infamous shinobi. This means that the level of suspicion and such will be different in terms of consideration. Yeah, you know what I mean? Maybe lastly, as a prediction or more precisely a plot twist, my prediction is about Code. In the midst of the chaotic situation between Mamushi and Boruto, this would be the perfect time for him to act unpredictably, like kidnapping Mamushi or something like that. Because of course, one of the most logical ways for Code to become stronger is by using Mamushi. Whether Mamushi's Togadama gets consumed by Code or something similar, one thing is certain, it would be really exciting if that happens. Because I'm sure we all agree that one of the ways to make Code even stronger is Mamushi. So yeah, that's probably all for the brief prediction of chapter 29, which will be released on the 18th. But if you have predictions that are way more interesting than this, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'm Nim, without the E. See you in the next video. Bye-bye, Dadabayo.